Well, welcome everyone to the regular board meeting of Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. At this time, I'd like Melissa, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Director Balin,
Here.
Director Boatright. No, not currently. Okay, Director Kearns.
Here.
Director Murphy. Okay, and Director Ringen.
Here.
Okay, so we currently have 3 directors present.
Okay, thank you. So we have quorum and we'll just continue and then if they come in, they come in. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so let me see. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance and Jeff, would you kindly lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, we'd like to welcome the members of the public who have taken the time to attend this meeting and provide comments on matters related to district business. Any member of the public may address the board relating to any matter within the board's jurisdiction. This need not be related to any item on the agenda. Excuse me. However, the board cannot act on an item unless it was noticed on the agenda. Person speaking during the public comment will be limited to 5 minutes, or depending on the number of persons wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address the board. So we will start with our audience here in the building. Is there anyone that wishes to address the board? Okay, seeing none. Cindy, anybody in virtual land? Okay, thank you. Then that will close our public forum and we'll move to the consent calendar. Melissa, will you please read those items?
Okay. Item number 1, minutes of the regular board meeting of August 23rd, 2022. Item number 2, approval of reimbursement claims for director's statement of meetings attended and/or travel expenses and claim summary for August 2022. Item number 3, consider adopting a subsequent resolution making findings in support of allowing remote meetings pursuant to AB 361.
Thank you. Is there any board director that would like to pull one or more of these items? Yes, Director Ringen.
I'd like to pull the claim summary, please.
Okay. Director Kearns?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. All right. So why don't you just go ahead and then we'll vote on all 3.
Okay. All right, on page 1 is alley tree and landscape, San Diego ditch tree removal for $1,800. And my only question here is, was that put out to bid?
We went through the on-call contractor list.
So there's several, or at least more than one?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then this was the low bid?
Yeah.
Okay. Page 2, this one's interesting. Spice World IT Conference, air travel. What is that?
So this is an annual conference for IT purposes and cybersecurity. Corey's been attending it every year since we hired him, going on 5 years now. Actually, he's there in Austin, Texas right now. It's a 3-day seminar, peers, new information.
Okay, that's great. I don't know why I've never caught it before.
Critically important. We've been doing it each year, same time.
Great. Okay, page 6 is CT Bioenergy Consulting, LLC. What is CT Bioenergy?
That's Chris Trop. And he does, and this is for the grant that we got to do all the shaded field breaks around 6 or 7 different tank sites and the Twin Rivers.
I know him pretty well, but I just never heard his name, his business name. Yeah, I'm bringing this up. This page 7, DWR, $47,000, 572. I just, the only reason I'm bringing this up is just how much TUD has to pay in order to run this operation. It just keeps coming. And they're not small amounts, and these are basically unfunded mandate type things. So just thought I'd mention that that's one of the reasons why it costs what it costs. Also on page 7 is DLT Solutions, AutoCAD license. What is that?
That's our annual license fee for the seats of AutoCAD that we have in the engineering department. Unfortunately, DLT is a approved vendor for Autodesk, which is the parent company of AutoCAD. And there aren't a lot of options out there in alternatives to AutoCAD. So it is expensive, but we do monitor to see if there ever would be a time to implement a different software solution. Unfortunately, we're kind of stuck with AutoCAD right now.
Okay, well, and that's like critical to your operation.
It is.
CAD, computer assisted drawing.
I would imagine too, Eric, that if you did find something that might be cheaper per year, you'd have to purchase that software, and that would be a big outlay as well, correct?
And train on it. So
Yeah.
we spend quite a bit of time and resources to train our engineers on using AutoCAD, and so we have a lot invested. We're not unique in that regard. Many agencies are sole sourcing on AutoCAD and have been that way for a long time.
So it's more than just dollars. I mean,
Correct.
there's
And
man hours to deal with too.
I need to interrupt because we have 2 board members that need to, we need to record that they are present. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that Director Murphy is noted and Director Boatright, and then we can continue. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, just a couple more. Another one that I'm just gonna point out, the expense to run this organization is Hunt and Sons Incorporated, $13,000 for fuel. So, wow, that hurts. But how do you get the crews out there to do the work without it? Or the guys and gals to the treatment plants? Project representative, also on, I'm sorry, page 13 is Michael Benjamin Nessie, resident project representative. What is that all about?
Mike Nessel, Mountaineering Engineering, is the resident project representative is another term for inspector. He's our full-time inspector on the Sonora Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant project.
Okay, thank you much. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. I want to give the 2 board members that have arrived a chance to pull any consent calendar item or add to the already pulled item, which was number 2.
No, I don't have anything with the consent calendar, but Director Ringen, you brought up Hunt and Sons, I believe you said it's 16,000? There's actually 3 times that Hunt and Sons was paid during last month, and the total's actually quite a bit higher.
Well, I just picked one of them, just as an example. They all hurt.
Yeah, it's quite an incredible fuel bill for a month.
Director Murphy, would you care to pull any of these items on the consent calendar while we're on that topic? Director Murphy, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. What's your question?
Would you like to pull any or have a discussion on any of the consent calendar items while we're on that topic?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, any further discussion before I ask for public comment on item number 2? Okay, thank you, Ron. Seeing none, Cindy, is there any in our virtual audience that would like to comment on that consent item? None at this time. All right, then if there's no further discussion on the consent calendar, then I'll ask for a first and second to approve.
I'll move we approve the consent calendar.
Okay, thank you, Director Kearns.
I'll second it.
Oh, okay, it's kind of a tie, but all right. There we go, Director Ringen, thank you. Any further discussion? Melissa, will you please call the roll?
Okay, Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatright,
Aye.
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Ringen,
Yes,
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, let's move on to regular business, and Melissa, will you please read the first item?
Okay, item number 4, annual audited financial report for year ending June 30th, 2022.
Good morning, Board. Steve Sheffield, your Finance Director, and Tuolumne Utilities District, in accordance with law, is required to have an annual independent audit conducted by an independent certified public accountant. This information is filed with the State Controller's Office. The minimum requirements of the audit shall be prescribed by the Controller and shall conform to generally accepted auditing standards. Richardson and Company, LLP, conducted the district's audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America and the State Controller's minimum audit requirements for California special districts. With us today, we have Ingrid Schefflein, who is the managing partner of Richardson and Company, who will present the fiscal year 2022 independent auditor reports, financial statements, notes of the financial statements, and required supplemental information. So Ingrid, join us. I am going to share my screen to get Ingrid's presentation up here, so give me a minute. That one, that one. And let's start.
Good morning. As
All yours, Ingrid.
David mentioned, next slide.
Next slide. Oops, back here I got a delay. Sorry.
So this slide shows the reports that we issued as a result of the audit. We issued an opinion on the financial statements, which is the main goal of the audit. We also, as a result of the federal grant funding that was received, issued a report on internal control and compliance. And then 2 additional letters, required communications and management letter. I believe those documents are in your package, right? Next slide.
There we go. No,
Yeah, that's right. No, they were right.
that was right?
Yeah.
Sorry, we'll get connected here.
So the audit results and observation, this has just been a summary, the results of the audit. We issued what's referred to as an unqualified or clean opinion on the financial statements. We had minimal adjustments or changes as a result of the audit. We noted no weaknesses in internal controls, and we noted that the district complied with federal grant requirements. Next slide. So this table covers the asset side of the balance sheet. Some of the changes I'd like to point out, you'll see the decrease in cash. That's really due to 2 items. There were $3 million that was invested in securities, so it's showing up down as a separate line item, and then the remainder is the use of reserves for capital projects. The restricted cash that you see there of an increase of $23 million is the unspent bond proceeds. There were proceeds for the sewer project, and most of that was not expended at the end of the year. So the proceeds came in, but they're restricted for the sewer project. The capital asset line item that you're seeing there increased to about $16 million. There were about $19 million of expenditures, capital project expenditures during the year. Most of it the sewer project, offset by depreciation expense. Next slide. So this is the liability section of the balance sheet. You'll see the long-term debt increased by about $25 million. That's the new COPs. There are about $309,000 of debt repayments during the year. The pension and the OPEB liability decreased by 5.6 and 3.6 million. That's really an indication of interest rates and investment return. These are based on 2021 CalPERS rates of return. And way back then at June 30, 21, the market was pretty good. So there were investment earnings that offset that liability. But keep in mind that is just a snapshot, and that probably has gone away as of June 30, 22, which you won't see until the 23 financial statements. Next page. So this is the equity portion of the balance sheet. So you can see most of your net equity is tied up in your infrastructure assets, which are about 93 million. The other item to point out here is the after some of the restricted amounts, your unrestricted or reserves are actually at a negative. The water fund is a negative 4.6 million, and the sewer fund is a negative 1.6 million. So that's, even though you do have a reserve policy that was put into place in June of 2020, there's no reserves that are showing up in these audited financials because of the fact that you basically have negative equity. That increase in the negative in the sewer fund from the positive 7 million to the negative 1.6 million is due to the expenditure for the sewer project. The district was responsible for the first 9 million of those expenditures. This is the summary of the income statement. Operating revenues and expenses, really very minimal change there. There were no rate increases that would have resulted in an increase in operating revenues. There is bond issuance costs of $398,000 related to those sewer bonds that were issued during the year. So you still have a net income before any capital contributions of 2.6 million. That's a decrease from last year's amount of 3.7. Capital contributions are mostly grant funds. That decrease from the 6.9 million to the 2 million this year is because last year you received some county funding for one of your projects. So that wasn't a repeat for this year. Next slide. So some of the other required communications are contained within the letter. We noted 2 adjustments or changes as a result of the audit. There were very minimal adjustments. And so overall, it was a good, clean audit. The fact that the district has a lot of activities and funds flowing through, so the fact that we only had 2 adjustments as a result of the audit is a good indication of Steve and his staff doing an excellent job of maintaining the county records. We have one item, a difference that we noted that we did not adjust for, and that is included in your letter. That letter also discusses areas where estimates were used in preparing the financial statements. The 2 largest estimates are the net pension liability and the net OPEB liability. Those are based on actuarial assumptions, and as we saw when we looked at the decrease there, because of investment earnings, the actuaries assume a certain level of investment earnings, and if those either peak or valley, that can significantly change your net pension liability that shows up on your balance sheet. So as we mentioned earlier, those decreases in both of those are because of the investment earnings at that point in time. So we also issued a report on internal control and compliance as a result of the federal grant funds. There's about 2.3 million of federal grant funds that were expended during 2020 or 21-22 on the sewer project. The conclusion of that audit is that we noted no weaknesses in internal controls. The district has a good system in place that checks and balances so that there were no weaknesses noted. We also audited for compliance with the federal grant requirements related to that federal funding that was received and determined that the district is in compliance with federal requirements. We also issued a management letter, and in that letter it indicates that there are no weaknesses in internal controls and no other recommendations. We do track comments until they're implemented to our satisfaction, and all prior year recommendations that we had were fully implemented. So with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions. And maybe before I do that, I'd like to thank Steve and his staff for all of their hard work. They had all the documents ready. We were here on site, as you saw, my employees around tables and papers all over the place. And so we appreciate all the advance preparation that they did and made for a very smooth audit process.
Any questions for Ingrid? Okay. Director Murphy, any questions?
Yeah, I missed what OPEB stands for.
Oh, it's the other post-employment benefits and it's the retiree healthcare benefits.
Ah, very good. Thank you so much.
Before, you guys sure, we got Ingrid here, anything else, she's the expert.
Yeah, just one clarification. The main reason for cash and those other things going down was sewer treatment plant and our investment portfolio, correct?
Yeah, looking at these financials, and again, I want Ingrid to give you her perspective. We talked about it during the budget process, and we'll have an update coming up after, in October. But there's some big swings in these financials, and you have to put it into context or perspective, what happened over the past year. I mean, not only did we have COVID over the past couple of years, but we also embarked on the regional sewer plant. And what was involved there was basically a $40 million project. We put up $9 million of our own money in reserves. We issued bonds for interim construction financing to the tune of 25 million. And we also expect at the tail end to get a grant of some 8.6, I think it is as well. So those in itself brought in, we all of a sudden have bonds payable. We all of a sudden have this construction financing cash. And so that was big swings. Pension liability and OPEB, or health insurance liability, are huge numbers. I mean, they're out there, they're kind of voodoo accounting because they're actuary, but you go back a number of years ago, all governmental agencies were required to put those on the financial statements. And for many governmental agencies, those two numbers brought in this idea of a negative balance in the equity fund. We're never going to pay those off all in one lump sum. They're not really like a mortgage where you're paying each year. Prior boards have said, well, those numbers are going to go up and that, but no, we have an OPEB plan. We're funding that each year for the employees. We've had PEPRA change the way those are, and we had huge economic swings. So like Ingrid said, they based their actuary on 21. Well, guess what? The market was doing well. PERS was making money, OPEB's making money. Well, I guarantee you it's going to look different a year from now, and they're going to change that. So you're right, Jeff, the big swings that are on there, but there's other factors in play too. During the last 12 months of this audit, we had fuel costs rising, electricity costs rising, material costs rising. We did an amazing amount of capital improvements. I mean, you saw that. We're talking $16 million is being recorded in this one 12-month period. We did also have some sizable capital grants over the last couple of years. So there's some big numbers out there, but they fit with what we budgeted and what we know is going on. To me, there's a whole lot more uncertainty going forward. What does the next year look like? What does the next 5 years look like? So, and that's not really Ingrid's role. As an auditor, what they're really looking at is a point in time. So they're saying at June 30th, these are numbers, they've audited them, they're independently attesting to what's happened. They also look at things as internal controls, which helps the board have confidence, helps management have confidence. And so that's really kind of where her report's geared versus our budget process and what we're going to be looking at with that going forward. But I do want to add, hopefully that answered your question.
Yes.
I want to add too that, for those of you who've been here a little while, Ingrid and her firms, I feel very fortunate. We have them as auditors. I consider them one of the premier water and sewer governmental auditors in the state of California. They've been doing this a long time. They're very good at what they do. They're a resource to the district as well as giving us confidence and backup that, what we're doing is accountable. All the funding agencies ask for the audit. It'll be posted on our website after, hopefully you all accept it. It'll be provided to the state. It gets provided to our lenders, to our grantors, and all of them. So it's very important. And they do an outstanding job with it. They hit us with like 6 auditors on site this year, but we rose to the occasion. And it's not just me and my staff, it's everyone, that goes along with it. Almost every department has a play in this and do that. So I'm very thankful to all of our staff, but I'm thankful to Ingrid, and we're very fortunate to have her here. So.
One more clarification on the sewer project. We spend our cash first.
Done.
Yep, we spend our bond money next, our construction loan. And then the grants come in last.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just want to make sure that.
And what you see on the claim summary, for instance, you'll see the payment to the construction firm. Basically what happens is we provide a monthly capital outlay statement to the engineer. They sign off on it. It goes to USDA. They sign off on it. Then it goes to our interim financing, the Zion Bank, and they wire us the money, and then that's how we pay it. So you're right, we've spent our 9 million. Now we're drawing down that 25 million, and then at the end, we'll be requesting USDA to pay us back. Once the project's totally done, signed off and everything else, USDA will pay off the bond proceeds in total, and we will begin paying USDA over 40 years, twice a year. And that's expected October to November 2023.
Looking at November.
Yeah, November 2020.
Yeah, that's good. So we've got a lot of controls on that money spent, not only here, but with the bank and with USDA. That's good counting.
It all goes hand in hand.
That's right. And then two adjustments on a big op like this, pretty good.
Yeah, you know, we put a lot of time and effort in cleaning up, and those darn auditors, you know, if they don't find something, they're all upset.
I think
So,
you did that on purpose.
You know,
so you
it's like the last one we didn't adjust, it was like the final hour, like, oh, we found this. You know, it's like Ingrid spent 2 days here and told me, you guys better find something. So, I don't like them to find anything, but, you know, we do this, and this unadjusted, it's on me. We'll make changes, we'll find it going, you know, we'll fix it going forward, but just a lot of stuff going on. You know, the bond proceeds and the construction financing was new to all of us. I haven't dealt with it in probably 20 years, and the rules all changed, and Ingrid helped me with that. I pride myself in that we prepare the financial statements and they audit. A lot of the agencies, they have to prepare the statements because they just don't have the in-house capability to do that. But we put a lot of time and effort, but the rules change every year. They keep us updated. There's actually a footnote in there telling you about all the new rules that are coming and that have changed in there. But yeah, typically, you know, Jeff, we pride ourselves in trying to catch these things as we go along, but there's part of it's operational. You know, we want to keep the guys going, pay the bills, do payroll and all that. The other part's very technical, this year-end accounting, and that's why it takes us. Likewise, I push on Ingrid that I want to deliver it in September, because if they do find something, you all need to know that we need to do something now. Most agencies don't deliver the audit until the end of December when the state requires it. To me, 6 months have already passed, and that's not really, that information's only good to you if it's timely. And so they work closely with the scheduling audit. They come out beforehand and do interim testing. And then we finalize and get Ingrid here, hopefully by the second meeting in September. So we're successful at that again. The clean opinion's the best you can do. We've always had a clean opinion since we've been working with them. And yeah, she's always gonna find something.
Well, I've been involved in my fair share of audits on the private side, and I appreciate what you've been going through on this, and I really do appreciate the way you handle everything here, and good job, thank you.
Thank you for saying so.
Any other comments from the board? And thank you, Ingrid. Thank you. Okay. I know we all echo the sentiments. Thank you so much, Steve, for being so organized ahead of time to make her work easier. Okay.
Ingrid, you're free. But you can stay if you like.
Yeah.
She's only got a few hundred other ones just like this.
Any other comments from directors before I ask for public comment? Okay, seeing none. Jesse, do you have any comments? You're okay? All right. Any member of our public have any comments?
Not at this time.
Great. All right. Well then, thank you again, and we will bring it back to recommendation for exception and to accept and file this report. I mean, a vote, a first, then a second.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, great. Thank you, Director Boatright. Any further discussion? Melissa, will you please call for the vote?
Okay, Director Boatright?
Aye.
Director Kearns?
Aye.
Director Murphy?
Aye.
Director Ringen?
Yes.
Director Balin?
Aye,
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
thank you. Great. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay,
Have
thanks
a safe
again.
trip.
See you next year. All right. Melissa, will you please read our next item?
Okay, item number 5, annual 66013D capacity charges report for the year 2022.
One more from me. We've gone back and forth, board, as far as showing this as a consent item versus regular business. It really is a housekeeping matter more than anything else. But California Government Code Section 66013 requires an agency receiving capacity charges to make available to the public within 180 days after the last day of each fiscal year certain information as detailed in the attached copy of Government Code Section 66013. The purpose of the attached capacity charges report for fiscal year 22 is to comply with this code section. The report details the charges deposited, the beginning and ending balance of the funds and the interest earned, description and amount of expenditures of funds included, including the percentage funded by capacity charges, improvements anticipated to be undertaken in the following fiscal year, and a description of each interfund transfer or loan made from the capacity charge funds. So attached to the staff report, you have basically a 5-page document that is the actual report that walks you through the reporting requirements, the descriptions of the charges that are collected and deposited. Then there's a table on page 3 that shows the activity broken down between water and sewer and the capacity elements that are in there. Basically showing the beginning balance, if any, collections, interest, and then what was spent in the ending. Page 4 is essentially the CIP projects that were within this time period and showing how much is really funded by capacity charges versus that. Obviously, with almost $12 million of capital projects and the capacity charges of $700,000, it's a very small proportion of that goes to fund these, but this is what we're required to present and make available to the public. And then the last page in there is essentially the budget CIP for the following year. This is really a technical, 66013 was enacted many years ago. Technically, again, this is just a report of what was collected, what was spent, and what the plan is for next year. If the board accepts it at this time, it will also be posted on the website for the public, and it stays there for a year. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions, directors?
I
Okay,
do have
go
a
ahead.
question. Now on the future CIP or 23, does that refer to this year's budget ending in
Correct.
23?
Correct. Essentially what I did is took the board adopted CIP from the budget meeting and you remove any items that aren't applicable to capacity charges such as trucks and that sort of thing. You can't spend capacity charges on that. And what you have left is these are the items within the adopted CIP budget for this year. The ones before that are specifically the activity for fiscal year 22 that would end in June.
Thank you, Director Booker. I have a question.
Mhm.
Is this report submitted somewhere?
It is not. I mean, it's required to be posted and available, so it's part of our, under the financial section of our website. But this right here is just required to be presented to the board as part of the board action and accepted and filed through that. But unlike the audit, it doesn't go, unless someone requests it, if anyone asks for it. But honestly, I don't get any requests.
It's posted.
It's a necessary evil that we've done, and for many years, we didn't do it, but you know, that we've done it regularly now for, I think, at least a decade. And Jesse's involved with this as well. When we first started doing it, Jesse verified the specific capacity charges and requirements and ones that were subject to this. So nothing's changed that we know of, and again.
Thank you. Jesse, any comments?
No, I do not. No, Steve's summary is excellent. Yes, it's a rather straightforward legal requirement on various capacity charges, how they're collected and how they're spent. And, it's the same report that the board has adopted in previous years, and I encourage approval.
Thank you. Cindy, is there any member of our public that wishes to comment?
Not at this time.
All right, if there's no further discussion, then I'll ask for a motion to accept and file.
I'll make a motion to accept and file.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay, thank you. Then if there's no further discussion, Melissa, will you please call for a vote?
Okay, Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Ringen,
Yes?
Director Balin,
Aye,
Director Boatright.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
thank you. All right, on to our next item. That's item number 6. Melissa, will you please read that item?
Okay, adopt resolution declaring October 1st through October 9th, 2022 to be Water Professionals Appreciation Week.
Thank you, Melissa. Good morning, President Balin, members of the board here in the room and on Zoom, and Jesse. Thank you for being here and allowing me to present this item. So I think all of you have seen this item before. This is actually our 6th year adopting this resolution to appreciate our water professionals here at TUD, but this is also a statewide initiative that started in 2017 through Senator Dodd. I almost called him Todd, excuse me. And so just to recognize the over 60,000 water professionals throughout the state of California. Obviously, water is our lifeblood here, not only in Tuolumne County, but across the state and nationally. And so this has come through. We would like to recognize our own staff through this resolution. We also have some activities planned next week, and we'll do a social media blast about our amazing employees, as well as some banners and things just to recognize them publicly. And so, our staff work 24/7, 365. When we need them, they're here. And we are very appreciative for them and all the sacrifices that they make throughout the year to make sure that the community is safe and has water uninterrupted and good quality water. So we also recognize that there's a lot of different types of careers that come with water professionals. So as you see, we all have different career paths, but all are connected through water, as well as you all. And so just recognizing how vast the water industry is and the different types of careers that you can be able to thrive in throughout this district, as well as in other high demand occupations throughout the state. So it was a coalition of water associations through Aqua that came up with this, and we're happy to be a part of it. I do have a resolution. I'm happy to read if you all would like me to read the resolution.
Please read it.
Wonderful. Okay, so this is a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Tuolumne Utilities District declaring Water Professionals Appreciation Week. And this is next week, starting on the 1st. So whereas water is the lifeblood of California, and without safe and reliable water, no community and no sector of the economy, from high tech to manufacturing to agriculture, can thrive or expand. And whereas now more than ever, the water industry is proud of the important role our essential workers play in making sure our communities have safe and reliable drinking water. And whereas thanks to technology advances by highly skilled and trained water professionals and the dedication of thousands of industry professionals in the state, California drinking water and treated wastewater meet some of the most stringent water quality standards in the nation. And whereas depending on where you live in California, your water may come from a nearby well or river, or it may travel hundreds of miles through canals or pipelines to reach your tap. Regardless of where it originates, your drinking water is filtered, cleaned, tested, and distributed in a process carefully managed by trained water professionals. And whereas California is steadily expanding the reuse of treated wastewater and pioneering the use of advanced purified recycled water to replenish aquifers, prevent seawater intrusion, and improve local water supply reliability. And whereas water professionals at local public water and wastewater agencies work 24/7 to plan for the future, maintain and upgrade their systems, and improve the safety and resiliency of local water supplies for their communities. And whereas according to the Public Policy Institute of California, local public water and wastewater agencies invest more than $25 billion a year on local water-related programs and projects that protect public health and the environment, improve local water supply reliability, replenish and clean up groundwater basins, provide water for fire protection, and protect against floods. And whereas thousands of essential water, wastewater, and recycled water industry professionals in the state dedicate their careers to keeping drinking water, recycled water, and treated wastewater safe and reliable for use by Californians. Now therefore be it resolved that Tuolumne Utilities District hereby declares October 1st through the 9th, 2022 Water Professionals Appreciation Week and extends its sincere gratitude and appreciation for the water and wastewater professionals who work 24/7 to provide excellent essential services to our community every day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments on the resolution? Yes.
This is a related question, but not exactly to that resolution. How has, with all, first of all, the barbecue, I've never seen so many new faces. I've got a lot of people to meet. But with all of the retirements and things like that, has TUD been able to take advantage of the water and wastewater treatment classes out there at Columbia College in order to get new employees?
We have had some applicants. I would actually say that it's a little bit less in the last couple of years that have come out of the college with those programs, but some have taken classes while they're here. But we have at least 2 employees that have been hired over the last 2 years that come out of that program. And so it ebbs and flows a little bit, but it's a great program out of there. And we encourage enrollment both before and after when I'm talking to applicants and talking to folks that call and ask about how to get a job at TUD. That's always the first thing I say, take advantage of what our local college has in store for them, as well as the State Water Resources Control Board. So it does ebb and flow with the classes out there, but we've had success getting really good employees from there.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Director Green. Yes, Director Boatwright.
I do have a comment as far as, I was recently in a conversation with another TUD retiree as well. And we got to talking about the 24/7, the, district dedication to duty and showing up to do a job. And it's just incredible that the crews are willing to sacrifice so much to give back to the community, to be there to protect, the water sources, dedicated to the treatment of both water and wastewater. Some of the biggest storms are, the crews are out there while the people are trying to protect themselves at home or leave an area. Utility workers are the ones that are there trying to continually protect the infrastructure and stuff. So sincere appreciation for all the field crews, support staff, everybody throughout the office. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Well, and I'd like to extend that we have 2 professionals right here on our board, and many of us that are related to water directly or indirectly. So thank you guys too for your years of dedication. All right, any other comments from the board before I turn it for public comment? And then we'll vote on it, or then we'll accept it. Seeing none, Cindy? No. Okay. Well, with that then, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the attached resolution declaring October 1st to the 9th, Water Professionals Appreciation Week.
I'm happy to.
President Bowman, I'd like to make that motion that the Board of Directors by motion adopt the attached resolution during the October 1 to October 9, 2022 to the Water Professionals Appreciation, to be the Water Professional Appreciation Week.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Director Murphy.
Oh, no, I was just raising my hand a second.
Oh, okay. All right, good. It's a tie again. So, all right, well, with that, let's call for if there's no further discussion, then let's call for the vote.
Okay, Director Balin,
Aye.
Director Boatright,
Aye.
Director Kearns,
Aye.
Director Murphy,
Aye.
Director Ringen.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, that moves us to item number 7, or progress report on Sonora Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Well, good morning. I'm pleased once again to give the board an update, a monthly update on the status of the project. I want to recognize Cindy, who's here today. She compiles this report along with Jennifer, and without them, you wouldn't get this monthly report. And then also Mike Nessel of Mountaineering Engineering, who is our resident project representative, AKA inspector on the job. He's down there full time. And once again, this meeting on Tuesday happens to coincide with their weekly meeting. And so Jennifer and Mike host that meeting with the contractor and some of our operations staff. So they're unable to participate. I'll be very brief and just give you the highlights here. You've seen this map, and the red stars indicate active work areas. The green sort of check marks are completed, and at this point, the site's really been transformed. None of the 3 polishing ponds that were part of the old treatment plant are currently in use. If you drive by the site, you'll see that, our clarifier structures here down at the bottom, and our south process station, and our filter and our chlorine contact basins, they have essentially been there for a while. The concrete's been poured. However, there's a lot of work still left to be done before those are operational. The chlorine contact basin has been hydrostatic tested, which just is a fancy way of saying they filled it with water and walked around to make sure there weren't any leaks. And so that has passed, the clarifiers have passed, and they have, Hewitt, that is, our contractor, has backfilled a fair amount around these structures. So it's even easier to walk up and look inside. Coincidentally, I think we have an on-site meeting that we've offered to the board on October 15th. So that's a Saturday morning. There shouldn't be any conflicts with the contractor's work. Should be able to go out there and really show you intimately the work that's occurred. We're at about a year into this project. I think the year anniversary was October 5th, somewhere around there. So we're right on about a year. And as Steve mentioned, we're anticipating finishing the project around November of next year. So we're still about a year. We're about halfway through in terms of time. Some noteworthy things here this week. They will be lining these biolac basins. They will be starting to install all the internal pieces that go into the clarifiers, which involve, the sludge collection, the rake, the center cans there, energy dissipators, the catwalk structures, the launderers. Those are just all internal pieces that have to be bolted up and attached inside these. The building, the block work is essentially done. So you can see those walls are up, and they will be pouring a slab inside the building, and then they'll be able to start doing all of the finished work, including they'll be putting the roof on. The building B, they've poured all the channels coming in, the grit chambers, all of those things, and they will be working, continuing to work on the block for that building. Let's see what else we have here. So on the financial side, we're at about 30% of budget, even though we're about halfway through. And I know, I think I told the board, hey, we're gonna really ramp up and be spending money quicker. Well, They did, but not quite as quickly as we thought. So if we have virtually half, 50% of the time left, and we're at 30% of the budget, it means they're gonna be spending money at a quicker clip as we come in to the next year. We have spent all of TUD's share. We're at $3.5 million in on the $25 million loan. And then the USDA grant portion, the $8.5 million, will come at the very end of the project.
Eric, I have a question. On the monthly stipend, we touched on it during the financial report, but I actually thought more appropriate on this end. I mean, I was curious about the timeline, because we talked about the approval, being a inspector, TUD, then the USDA, and then our bond money coming. How long does that process take? Say like we get the invoices for September, is that then paid in October, or is it carried out further November, December, or,
Steve,
I'm just wondering how far.
You've been tracking the time a little. It's actually reasonably fast. It isn't 1 month to the next, but.
Yeah, we've kind of got it down to a science now, almost. I mean, basically the process is our on-site inspector is responsible for coordinating that. The contractor with them will submit it to Jennifer as well as to Pace for the engineering. So typically they're getting those by the month end. Sometimes it could be the weekend before, depending how that falls. They review and approve it. Jennifer prepares the capital outlay summary that comes over. Our goal, if we have that, is we pay by the 10th. So the 10th of the following month, they're supposed to provide us their cutoff as of month end. The 10th goes back, then we kick it back and it goes through an approval process of the final PACE engineer. Then it goes to USDA, and we've had a couple different USDA reps, and they're very responsive. And then we basically just issue a wire transfer, an ACH from Zion into our account, and they're paid. So most of it's dependent upon when they're submitting their invoices. There are some other invoices in the claim, such as the inspector and PACE engineering and some of these other expenses that he's shown up there. But we're basically getting them a payment every month,
Very good, thank you.
Yeah, Steve, you just mentioned the transfer of funds is ACH. It's not a regular wire transfer then.
We've got it set up, so, and honestly, I wish we could do all our banking with them because they are so responsive and so helpful in that for a while there, we were basically fronting the money and then waiting a week or 2 weeks to get the wire to go back to us, which I was concerned. We spent all our money, we can't keep doing that. And they're like, oh no. And so, we got the final approval yesterday, and Zion last night told me the funds will be there tomorrow morning. And then we cut checks on Fridays. So we'll get the funds in our bank account tomorrow morning, and we'll cut a check to Hewitt and everybody else on Friday.
Good, thanks.
And not just for this project has so many steps that Steve just outlined, but in general, TUD's got a great reputation as far as paying vendors, which goes a long way. Contractors and vendors really appreciate timely payment, and I think it's reflected in how responsive they are to us when we need something. And I do think contractors' bids reflect the fact that doing business with the district is fairly easy.
It makes them want to come back and do future projects. Good.
This is where we stand in terms of budget and expenditure currently on the project. And, we do keep our eye on the engineering side here. Aside from that, all the rest of these categories of expenditure are reasonable. We haven't tapped into our contingency. Rest assured we will, because that's the grant portion of it. So at the end of this project, paving, landscaping, those kinds of things, we would like to reintroduce back into the contract. We don't have no intention of leaving any grant on the table. And at this point, we're at about 451 submittals, which doesn't really speak to the level of effort that our engineer and our resident project representative, Jennifer, actually spent quite a bit of time going through those submittals. 275 RFIs. We did have one safety incident that has been addressed. It didn't result in any serious injury. Construction completion, like I said, we're at 35%. Time-wise though, that's 35% really on budget, not in terms of actual completion of various aspects of the job. So we are 1 month behind, and I do want the board to be aware of this, and I'll be real brief and show you a few photos. But as you know, with lead time, we are struggling in terms of getting the microprocessor units. It's the brains of the entire plant. So each individual process station will have its own controlling feature there, maybe a PLC, but it comes back to a centralized brains PLC that operate the entire plant. And the vendor for that is updating their lead times every 2 weeks, and it's like 150 days. And so that's just one component, but without that one component, you can't operate the whole plant in concert. So that has resulted in some delays, as well as PG&E and AT&T. Dealing with them, we're still trying to get the final approval for them to install their service, as well as the switch gear and the panels are way behind there. So we'll keep you updated. That does have some cost implications because having staff around not fully utilized. Our inspector, I would hope when we get to the late part of the project, he wouldn't be there full time, but we'll have to wait and see. We can't do startup on a lot of the equipment until we have electricity. So that is a critical path for us. A couple pictures just to share with you. So this was, 3 weeks or so ago now. These are getting lined this week, and the block for the building is done. Again, 3 weeks ago, this is when they were doing the excavation for the biolac basins, the extended aeration activated sludge basin. That's what EAAS stands for. And again, the under drains for those basins, and then a really cool panorama of the building. It's really distorted.
Looks really big.
Yeah, it looks huge. It's German. Yep. So I think that's all we have to share. Happy to answer any questions if the board has any.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, go ahead, David.
Eric, I have a question, and it's on the email photos that were sent to us. On the final clarifier 2, there were shadows or something applied to the outside of that clarifier. I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, I think you are seeing are the mirror drains. They're these black, if that's what I'm imagining. They're a black rolled out product that is attached to the exterior concrete wall of the clarifier, and they go down in the ground. What they're designed to do is any groundwater that percolates over, it's supposed to hit that product and then transmit down so that it can be drained away from the concrete itself. And I think that's what you're seeing, and you're gonna see that on some of the other concrete structures.
That makes sense.
I think you'll see it hopefully when we go out on site.
So during that rain that we got, which was, thank God, did it cause any damage out there or hurt anything? Because that was a pretty good rain.
No, that's a great question. I should have brought that up. No, the site held up really well. The entrance road off the site where we had the fire and the city did some of their work, there was some mud that came across the road there, but from our perspective on our construction site in the areas that had been disturbed, they held up really well. I should say that contractors moving forward with erosion control because we're coming into the rainy season, and they will be excavating. I'm not sure if they will be excavating. You can't see it here. The rest of the stormwater basin, which is on the other side of the access road, they're working on that. And then they will be putting the Inca mat down, which is stabilizing the slopes and seeding before we get into the rainy season.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Another question, has the city or county done anything to fortify the burn scar as far as, coming into the wet season? This will actually be the second wet season for it, to prevent it from slipping into the creek, which if it dams up the creek, then, the creek's gonna wanna go wherever it's gonna wanna go.
They have done some work out there, but I don't believe they've done actual hydro seeding. They did some cleanup work, some grading work to kind of restabilize that. There were some wattles and some straw, but I don't think they've actually applied. I will check and get you an answer.
Yeah, I think it'd be worthwhile to check into to make sure that there's, who knows, with the storms that we're seeing, the way they come through, that burn scar isn't fortified, it could certainly cause a diversion on that creek, which could be a substantial impact project.
Ironically, that creek was so heavily vegetated, that fire opened it up. So I think aside from sediment transporting down in, I think it's gonna flow at a higher capacity than it previously.
Certainly, like I said, I haven't been down there and walked in along that fence line, but it seemed like the creek was still, had quite a bit of foliage, and if every sediment slips into that, raise that water level up with downstream bottlenecks as well, so.
Yeah, and we will check. I'll have Jennifer check in with the city. And we did move the tires, half of the tires off of the city property. We're waiting to have the contractor come back and take the other pile of tires.
Great. Well, good point, David. I think we do share those concerns about water quality in the watershed here, yeah. Any further questions? Director Murphy, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just, a quick question about the more recent fire. I know the Washington fire came pretty close to the wastewater treatment plant. Did the more recent fire that happened in August affect at all the construction area or the entrance?
Fortunately, no, there were no impacts. The curse and the blessing of that Washington fire is that it did burn very hot around the plant perimeter. And so I think in essence, a lot of the fuels have been reduced, but no, the other fire did not penetrate anywhere near the plant. And so we had no impacts, but doesn't mean we're not concerned.
And in those, do we end up getting ash dropped into the open water areas that we have at the plant? Does that happen in fires?
You broadcast through the air, just ash through the air. I wouldn't surprise me if there were some, but I didn't hear any concerns from our operations staff about that. If it was pretty minimal and didn't impact the treatment process at all.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? This is an informational item only. Any comments from the public, Cindy?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, appreciate the update on this. I know that the drone work is just awesome and the graphs are good. I'm glad we're spending our own money down, so yeah, thank you so much. Okay, and then we're gonna have a field trip.
So 15.
Okay, great. Well, with that, then, we'll, and that, again, that's just information, so thank you. We'll move into staff reports.
Okay, I have one that I'm excited to talk about. And that is that we are applying for a grant through USDA Forest Service for a wildfire defense plan. It's going to be focused around our raw water systems and our potable water systems in an effort to make those areas get some fire risk reduction projects. Hopefully, what we're applying for right now is a planning grant. And then hopefully that will roll into some actual project grant monies coming down the pipe later on date. We'll be working with CBI, Conservation Biological Institute, on this grant funding opportunity and help us to write the grant. Essentially, this is an effort to identify some of our high-risk areas of our system that are in the communities, such as Cedar Ridge, Ponderosa, Crystal Falls, Trinidad, and areas like that. So I'm pretty excited about this opportunity. If we can get some monies rolling in on some actual projects, this will offset some of our CIP projects on our raw water side, as well as we'll be identifying, officially identifying some groundwater drafting points for fire suppression. So this opportunity came pretty quick and we jumped on it. So I'm pretty excited. I'll keep you posted.
How much money is that grant?
$250,000 planning grant.
Yeah. Good. Any other staff would like to comment?
I have a report. So we've talked about it a couple of times that we've been working on mutual assistance agreements with some other water districts in the local area and just over the river. So we had a meeting last Thursday with CCWD and Utica again, and we have finalized an agreement, and CCWD and Utica are really excited that we've all worked together to kind of cross the finish line on this. They will be bilateral agreements between this district and that district, two districts versus a group. And so we're excited to talk with some of our more local districts, Twain Harte, Groveland, JSD, Tuolumne City Sanitary District, to enter into these agreements too, which will make us more prepared in emergency situations to be able to pull from our local resources and other resources of folks that are professionals in the same area, as well as it better situates us in the circumstance where after a disaster, we're looking for recovery monies. And so that having those agreements in place puts you in a better place for the auditing of those funds and everything. So anything to?
Question, Abby, is this part of that Cal Warren system?
It's not part of it, but we are members of Cal Warren. So it's just a separate agreement, just more local and
Okay, good.
yeah. So, and it's been great just meeting with them as well. We talk about a variety of different subjects as well that, interests that we share and some operational stuff that, we do and they do. And it's helpful for us to glean information from them about how they're handling certain things that could affect us or we're dealing with as well. So it's been really great.
Yeah, Jeff, as you might recall, last December, we had that pretty significant snowstorm, and then the tree went through the flume for PG&E. We had, Eric had his hands full of our ditches and our flumes, and it's just in my nature to reach out and make a phone call to our neighbors across the county, within the county. How's everybody doing? You need help? Maybe we need help. And Michael Winkler from Calaveras and Joel from Utica, they're very thankful that we make those kind of phone calls. And so that's how this kind of got rolling as well. Really good that we want to help each other, but if we had an official way to get this done. So I'm pretty thankful that Abby and her staff and others have gotten together and got this done. So
yeah, it's a good idea. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. It's good.
And then one last thing, on Thursday, a few of us are headed over to San Andreas for a management level FEMA disaster recovery in rural jurisdiction course areas. And so it's an 8-hour course. It's a free course, but they're putting it on over there for local agencies like ourselves. And so we're hoping to learn a lot from that, adding to what we already know about FEMA disaster recovery, and be able to bring that information back and help that with our own emergency response. Yeah.
Will that be held at CCWD?
It's being held at Calaveras Public Health, so it's at the county.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's the end of my report.
That's great. As a comment, it's good to know what FEMA will cover and what they won't cover. That was an eye opener for me. They will cover contracted labor. They won't cover forced.
Yeah.
That.
Steve and I have we've worked on
We-
FEMA grants before.
We have FEMA experience, we're
Yeah.
well aware of the tracking requirements, what they require, how to do there. But, for having to attend and get some additional updates, that's great. But just so you all know, we've been there and done that. So
Good. Then you can help, yeah,
it's
contribute.
very specialized.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Abby. That's it? Okay.
That's all for
All
me.
right, any other staff?
I think you heard enough from me. Unless there's any questions.
All righty, then I'll bring it back to directors' reports. Director Ringham, would you like to go first?
Okay. So, on 8/31, attended the TUD ditch committee meeting. And I'll leave any, information on that to you. That's 8/31. Remember, we haven't been in a meeting for, a month. 9/1 attended TUD Community Watershed Committee meeting. And that was really a, very productive meeting, and I really appreciated staff's not only involvement, but their thinking on it and participation to help us move forward on a couple of different items like the Phoenix Lake restoration project. So I think there was a lot of good information passed during that. On 9/7, attended the Tuolumne County Natural Resources Committee meeting. Not a whole bunch for me to report there. And 9/16 was the T-Stan Irwin Drinking Water Grant Project Committee. And this was a very productive meeting because of the community watershed committee meeting and the information that I got from that, from staff and all. And that's looking better and better. There is a grant that's been promised to the Irwin group. So we're going after it, and we're just trying to make sure we do it exactly right and don't have a problem. 9/21 was T-Stan Irwin Water Advisory Committee meeting. And with that, it was basically revolved around that drinking water grant project. That was the majority of that meeting. So we were getting input from the whole advisory group on that. And 9/21, I attended the TUD safety meeting and barbecue, and I thought that was a huge success. I've got a lot of people that I gotta meet. I saw so many new faces, I couldn't believe it. And then the only other thing that I wanna bring up is on 9/22, I attended a webinar, and it was runoff as a resource, how it can bring watershed benefits. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is I've got some contact information which I will share with staff, but I'm serious that I think we ought to start looking at collecting rainwater and finding ways to deposit it and hold it as long as we're going to have these wild weather changes. And if our snowpack is going to continue to be minimal, I think it's stormwater is going to be just that much more important to us in the long run if we have a way to be able to hold it to a certain extent. So anyway, I'll get you that information. I thought it was really helpful. It was from an area that's the person that put it on, or didn't put it on, but was the speaker, was from an area not quite like ours. It was San Diego, but you might be able to get a lot of really good information from, there's two groups down there that are working hand in hand about stream restoration and pollution and things like that. So you might be able to get some really good tips. They seem to be wanting to get this information out to everybody. So that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Any other director like to go next?
The TUD safety luncheon, that was excellent. Really proud of the crews for, continually being safe in the way that they do their job. It's just amazing some of the things that they do in the weather conditions that they have to do it. Ties right back into the wastewater professionals appreciation. Good job. Appreciate that. There's an upcoming LAFCO meeting scheduled October 10th. As long as they can get a quorum together, should go forward. And that's been about it. Finance committee meeting tomorrow.
Awesome, thank you. All right, Director Murphy?
Yeah, thank you. So first, I just wanted to say sorry that I missed the safety barbecue. I would have liked to have been there, but I was working that day in Yosemite. And but I do find safety very important and appreciate all of the employees and would like to meet some of the new people. That'd be great. So sorry that I missed that. On 8/31, I also attended the ditch meeting, found it fascinating. And then on the 1st was at the community watershed meeting representing. And I just wanted to give kudos to Director Ringen on the agenda for that meeting, that I thought that it was an incredibly productive meeting, as you've said. And I think that that was an opportunity where the member of the public who's been very involved in Phoenix Lake, Sally Rhodes, felt like, I think she felt like people were listening and that there was a plan to continue looking at this. And I think that that's really important for our members of the public. I think the water filling station, great discussion going there. And I think that what came out in that is Director Ringen, you've really thought of all of the pieces that need to be carefully looked at in that as far as making sure that that's a successful thing that is created and paid for in the right ways, and also that that we're making sure that it's kind of sabotage proof, so that we don't end up with a water leakage problem. And I think staff did a great job of showing the communication between Director Ring and the folks on the T-stand, Irwin, and just looking into all of the pieces of that as far as best location and best way to handle that. So I'm excited to see what comes of that, because I think there's a lot of good thought on that. So I just want to give kudos to that. I also attended, NOAA has workshops, and I attended their workshop on drought and climate. So it was a 1-hour workshop where you get the newest science on that. Something that was interesting from that I hadn't, that was a new introduced topic for me. You guys might be familiar with it, but I was not, which is flash droughts, which may sound a little bit familiar. This idea of super high temperatures that last for, I think it's 3 weeks or more, that cause vegetation to sort of go into dormancy. And so it was an interesting thing to be hearing about that right as we were finishing up that 108-degree 3-week spell, where that's what we were seeing in our garden was things really going to that. So they didn't say specifically that was a flash drought, but it's an interesting thing of what's coming our way with the changes that we're seeing of these super high periods of super high temperatures and super arid and high. The arid is the other piece that's really important in that. And so I think we had a little taste of that a couple of weeks ago. Glad that we moved on from that into the rain, and now and now we'll see what the rest of the year holds. So thank you very much, and just wanted to give some kudos on that.
Thank you. All right, let's see, Director Kurtz.
Yeah, I too am very sorry I missed that safety meeting. Sounded like it was a great turnout. And apologize for that, I was out of town, but yeah, I got one meeting to report, which was September 13th with President Balin and I met with staff and regarding the item for tomorrow on the Finance Committee meeting with SiteLogic IQ. So join us tomorrow, find out all the details. That's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's difficult. We forgot that we canceled a meeting, so we have a lot to report on, but let's see. The ditch committee, I'll report on that. I found that extremely enlightening because Eric Hall and Kurt Myers did an outstanding job bringing their program of work to the committee, and they thoroughly went over, for an example, leak detection and their methodology for the leak detection. And it's really clear that they're adding more pipe. They have a very tricky leak that's about 500 feet, I think, above an apartment complex in an urbanized area of Sonora. And they just were really great in their presentation and their care and their concern in the state of emergency, and yet doing it in a very methodical way. I thought that was really appreciative. So they discussed their, plan of attack and what they're currently doing, and I think the committee really just appreciated that and said, hey, go forward on the way you're doing a process of rule outs along the system and to find this leak. And so part of this, it was a vegetation issue as well. It's difficult in leak detection. I hope the grant will make that with vegetation management help us detect those leaks. And then so Eric and Kurt went over 3 proposals this year and what they plan to do. And I think we felt very confident in their concerns. And I know I asked questions about being a ditch customer. My water quality is an issue to me. And so cumulative effects of management and being a storm conveyance system, just all kind of adds up. So they were just incredible in their due diligence, and they really thought everything through. So that was great. The next item was increasing raw water customers. I've always been interested in this. I know it's not as easy as let's just add more customers. But again, that was a very enlightening discussion. And Steve, thank you for your comments. It's never as simple as just, hey, let's just add some more people. But to me, any way we can get people off of treated water, where we have a choice to save that treated water for people in town that need it, I'm all for that. And I thought Antonio had some great additional comments to make, so I guess we'll be working on that. Okay. And then the last item that I brought up is to call attention in a public setting like a committee to the this is a state action plan for extreme heat. And as Director Murphy had mentioned, this is real. This is, just like the atmospheric rivers are not real to us yet. They will be real. And we live in a multiple, terrain environment with niches, little climate niches all over, and a lot of variability even within Tuolumne County. And with these large expanses of asphalt and, creating heat islands or heat sinks and sustained heat like we had, it's a real issue. And so I just wanted folks to understand that the state had devised a plan, and it's called State Action Plan to Build Community Resilience and in protecting Californians from extreme heat. So just a heads up and familiarizing it, because we could have more heat-related safety issues. And certainly it may change with adapting to climate change, how we landscape these areas. So it's always good to look at where hopefully money might trickle down from, and these initiatives are certainly in place. So with that was our, Director Ringen, did I leave anything out on that?
No, that was pretty thorough.
Thank you. And then I attended as a Stone, the watershed committee, and again, I want to thank you for giving some voice to some of those projects, and that was good. Then, let's see, I wanted to thank the staff one more time on the safety luncheon program. And because as we know, good food and good morale reduces the accident rates, and so that was really well attended. I did also attend the Natural Resources Committee on September 7th, and that was great for the, for that cross-pollination with the county and their natural resources and what they're doing with their Fire Safe Council and what we're gonna be able to start doing with our risk reduction. And then, let's see. Did everything? A reminder that Aqua is coming up and in Mountain Counties, and that is on October 20th and 21st over in Murphy. So it's a really great way to get introduced to an Aqua program that's in our neighborhood, so we don't have to drive, far away. I don't think any of us attended the Aqua down in Indian Wells this year. So, but I would encourage all of us to attend the fall conference. I think it's gonna be at Monterey, and that Aqua conference.
Actually.
Spring.
Oh, it's spring conference, thank you.
Indian Wells is the fall.
That's it, yes, and I think you were,
I'm going, that's the JPIA meeting.
that's the JPA, okay, great, good. All right, let's see, I think that's it. I will unfortunately not be able to attend the October 15th, I think, field trip, and I'm sorry for that. I had a prior commitment with the college, so I know you guys will go forth and hear good things there. I think that's it. Did I miss anything? Anybody have anything else to add?
Barbara, there's been such talk about the watershed committee, and I agree it was a very productive meeting. It's really helpful for me. So steps going forward, especially related to the Pinecrest Phoenix Lake project. Just so you know, we have an internal meeting scheduled for the 4th of October. We're gonna meet, huddle up, and sort of fill in some of the blanks and the questions that we had from the watershed committee. And then I'll be asking Melissa to schedule another watershed committee focused on the Phoenix Lake project. So we're still on a daily basis working towards a resolution.
That's really good to hear, and I think that might make a certain lady pretty happy.
Well, yeah, and us too, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of uncertainty out here, and it's all weighs on us, so just to finally, not finally, but just to be focused on certain things and move towards resolution is just, it's a feel good thing, so.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. Great.
Madam
All
President?
Yes.
We kind of spoke about, local climatology and changes that are going on. At an upcoming meeting, it might be nice to have a report, both on our, how we're doing in our water season, coming to the end of September, as well as if there is any, climatology expectations for us and what our next 3 months are actually looking at. I haven't heard a hydrology report in a while.
Yeah.
And as an informational for the board.
I think that's a great idea, so hydro report and maybe some forecasting.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, great,
Thank you.
thank you. So with that, Director Murphy, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just one last thing. We drink the treated water that comes from the Sonora treatment plant, and I would just say I'd like to thank you guys for it's tasting better this month, and I appreciate that greatly. It was pretty darn awful for a while. What was that? I'm just wondering if, for the public's sake, anybody would be able to kind of say why we saw that change from that really, what do you call it, earthy taste to a little less earthy.
Yeah. Well, yes, yeah. It's a seasonal thing, Director Murphy. So each summer, the lake has some algae bloom. Some years are worse than others. Some years it's warmer than others, we're seem to be getting more and more warmer summer, so that adds to the problem. So it's just natural this time of year, algae's just about done blooming and dying off and causing those odors. So as the temperatures cool, the algae goes away, and we'll have less and less organics in the water that cause those taste and odors.
Yeah, and this year was one of those significantly worse years.
I'd have to agree with you, yes.
So happy to see that we're on the other side of that. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further comments, then Melissa, will you please read our closed session before we go into it?
Okay, closed session A, conference with labor negotiators pursuant to government code section 54957.6. Agency representatives, Don Perkins, employee organization, Northern California District Council of Labor's Construction, Production, and Maintenance, Labor's Local Union number 1130.
Thank you. And before we go in, Jesse, is it possible for you to join us in that meeting? Is that typical?
No, I can if you wish. I can if you wish. I have time.
Okay, is that something that the board desires at this point, or just thought I'd ask?
We're ambivalent whether he's there or not.
I normally don't participate in these, but
Okay,
Okay.
I kind of see.
Yeah.
I would defer to the board's pleasure.
Okay, I think at this point, this is just to kind of get a little idea of what
Just
in
information.
store, so I think you're free to go,
Off the
Jesse.
hook, Jesse.
okay. All right.
Okay,
Well, thank you all.
thank you.
Thank you,
Bye,
Jesse.
Jesse.
I just want to, Barbara, just want to make sure clear, there's gonna be no reportable actions.
Right, no,
Just say that.
okay, great, thank you.
So, if there's people wanting,
Are we gonna stay?
stick around.
So with that, hang on, with that, okay, so you read, we have to do this. We will leave our open portion of our meeting and we will go into closed session at this time. Okay.